Hey everybody, welcome back. By request, we're going to do a walk and talk. We finally got a good mic, so hopefully you have a little better experience hearing. Um, we've been up to just about the same things. Going on our daily 5 mile walk. For anyone that cares out there, I did lose my 10 pounds. It's pretty easy. It took about 2 weeks. Just doing a 5 mile walk every day and then cutting back on my portions. So I reduced my caloric intake. But today we figured we'd talk a little bit about existentialism, maybe
Comfort,
comfort,
sacrifice.
yeah, and maybe a little bit about throwaway culture. I don't know. We'll see what it gets into.
Who knows where it'll go.
Yeah.
Yesterday, Casey interviewed our neighbor Dewey, who was born in this holler, actually right over there.
Yep.
And it got me thinking about, my own extended family who also grew up near here. Also, no water, no power, even into the 80s when I was a little girl. Dirt floors, chickens inside, the whole thing. And it got me thinking about how much do we really need to be happy? They seemed really happy. Dewey seems happy. And my relatives didn't want to go on grid or have running water in the 80s because they were suspicious of the government, like hillbillies are, but also because they didn't want to have to pay the man for their comfort. They hadn't had it before. They were perfectly fine and comfortable, so they didn't want to pay for it. And it just made me think about, what do we sacrifice for the comforts that we have? I mean, me included. We went partially on grid, mostly for air conditioning in the summer because it's so hot here. And I'm sorry, that's like my favorite comfort invention. But in the winter, we don't heat with electricity.
I'll take winter over summer
Yeah,
any day.
but that's because it's more comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah, you can always throw an extra jacket on or put an extra blanket on at night if you're cold in summer. And yeah, it's just hot and you sweat.
You can't escape it except for going to the creek, and you can only do that for so long.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you get, cuts and tick bites. The cabin would be, 100 and 103, 105 degrees, and you
Inside.
just sweat, and then that causes, staph infection, and
Mm-hmm.
a little cut or a tick bite can kind of turn into a mess real quick. So yeah,
But then it also makes me think about the times that, when we were living on post and you have HVAC, it's mindless. You don't even have to think about it. You got everything's temperature controlled, the perfect temperature for a human being, and you don't have to do anything but push a button. I don't know that that's necessarily good for our psyche. And like, maybe these old timers were right. Like, maybe it's better if you have to go out and haul your wood to heat your house. You're actually thinking about where it comes from, and you can't be as controlled. If you can go out and get your own fuel to cook and heat and whatnot, then you're not paying for that. So you don't have to work as much, and you're harder to control.
right.
It just seems to me like the more comfort you require, the less freedom you can acquire. It comes at a cost. And everybody has their own, I guess, line in the sand for what they're willing to sacrifice. Like, a lot, that's fine if you want to work a 9 to 5 job in order to pay for a super comfortable lifestyle. I don't want to do that. I think there's a lot of people out there that don't want to do that. And that's fine if you don't want to do that, but then you're going to have to work harder physically. You're going to have to actually be willing to suffer discomfort, go out and acquire the things that you need to eat and be warm, etc.
Yeah, and I think one of the things I've learned from interviewing some of these old timers is that they worked a tremendously long time to get to the point that they're at. Like, they had to sacrifice a lot
Yeah.
for 20, 30 years, if not longer, to finally be able to build their own home or purchase land, um, to get into their comforts. And then even when they did that, they kind of started with like a bare minimal. You know, they didn't just go out and get a loan and buy their home, you know, have their home built, you know, in
Right.
2 weeks. Like they did it slowly over time.
Yeah. Well, and you taught me this back when we were still college athletes.
Right.
And remember, I did that race and I dropped out. I like ran way out of my fitness and I had to drop out of this big race. And I was so upset afterwards and I walked up to you because I wanted you to comfort me. And you said, well, you eat like crap and you don't work half as hard as those girls. And it dawned on me, I mean, I couldn't even be mad at you. You were right. But the reality is, they made different sacrifices than I did. They sacrificed their comfort and their time to work out extra and run more miles and be in the weight room longer and not eat dessert. I didn't make those sacrifices. So my sacrifice was the race. And I realized I had to pick my sacrifice. Like, we all have to pick our sacrifice. You don't get out of sacrificing. It's part of human existence. It's being aware of which sacrifices you choose that most people never really take advantage of. They just kind of float through the stream of life and the sacrifices happen to them instead of them choosing what to sacrifice. And if you never would have told me that, I never would have realized it.
Yeah. Well, you're going to get out what you put into something.
It's true.
Doesn't matter if it's a relationship or a job. You know, your kids, you don't put a lot of time into your kids,
That's a
then
big
don't
one,
expect them to come around when you get older.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah.
You take that time to actually care about what they're into, whether you care about it or not. You show some interest. That goes such a long way for a kid. Like Pokemon right now.
Yeah.
I don't understand a single thing about Pokemon.
No.
Oh my goodness.
I call him Pokemon.
Yeah, we do that. Yeah, just to
Dad,
annoy.
Dad.
It's Pokemon.
Yeah.
Say it right. But taking that interest, even though I have no idea what a sparkly or shiny Pokemon is. Joe caught one. He was so excited. So I'm going to be excited because he's excited, even though I have no idea what the heck a shiny Pokemon is, you know?
Right.
Taking that time with him now means he'll take time for me later.
Yeah, and I think one of the important things is to, you know, teach your children not to be in a throwaway culture.
That's a big
We
one.
throw everything away now. Which if you see some of these old timers, you know, slightly past the Great Depression, you know, era, a lot of times you'll see them like washing their tin foil or washing Ziploc bags. And there's a lot to be learned from that.
Chop with ice.
It's like we don't have to just throw things away all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a big one.
Yep.
That and like, they don't really spend money to personalize stuff. They spend money on tools.
Yeah.
Right. They're not gonna, I guess, waste money decorating.
Right.
Some of that's because they're men too. But so even Dewey's wife, she doesn't really spend money decorating her house. It's mostly practical stuff that they can use.
Right.
And I think that leads to throwaway culture because every trend is like finite. So like it was the barn style, everything was black and white with lettering, and now it's something else. I don't know what it's going to be. So everybody's going to throw away all those Hobby Lobby decorations and go back to Hobby Lobby and buy more decorations.
Yeah.
It's just not like that out here. There's nothing wrong with that. That's how you want to spend your money. But you are sacrificing spending your money on other stuff. And if you're fine with that, that's like your prerogative. But
yeah, I mean, I'm going to disagree. I said you should be very wary of getting into those types of behaviors, especially with your children, because, you know, like when it came to relationships with our kids, like they weren't allowed to date. Like there wasn't dating.
Because that's kind of throwaway culture, you know.
Oh, we throw everything away.
Transactional,
Yeah,
like,
people are not
you don't serve
throw
my
away.
needs anymore. Yeah.
Right. So we didn't do the dating, you know, game. It was just kind of a no.
Be friends first.
Yeah, be friends. You can talk online, do these things, but you're not going anywhere alone.
No.
You know, you might seem like, you know, that's harsh, or that's not right. But if you look at the divorce rate today, and
People just throw each other away.
yep,
Over
everything's
silly things.
expendable.
Yeah. Well, and neither of us, even when we were teens, were big into dating. Like, I had a long-term boyfriend after I turned 18, but before that, I never really had any interest in like dating, so to speak. It was a waste of time in my mind. Like, as a teen girl, I was like, I'm not going to give some guy like a big say in my life. I don't even know what I want for myself right now.
Right.
You know, like, I don't want to put the energy into a relationship. I'm still trying to get myself launched and out into the world and figure out who I am. And I think that informed me as a mom. Like, as an adult, I was like, that was a good choice.
Yeah.
I'm going to encourage my kids to do the same thing.
I mean, I dated a lot when I was younger, but I'll agree it was a waste of time and money.
You weren't like, you didn't want girlfriends.
Well, yeah, I wanted to experiment with companionship.
Yeah.
Try to figure out.
I did not.
I don't think I ever figured it out, by the way. I tried to figure it out.
That's the thing. You don't figure it out. Even when you fall in love and get married, your whole marriage is an experiment, basically. Right. Not intentionally, but it's like, I'm still working on communicating clearly to you. And it's been 25 years or longer.
Well, that's a never-ending process.
That's what I'm saying. So it's not like dating is going to remedy that for you.
Yeah, correct.
But yeah, throwaway culture is a big deal. And I feel like relationships just fall into that category anymore, being disposable.
Yeah, and we've seen, with our older boys.
Yeah.
Them getting married and having happy relationships.
The sun might be in our face. No.
Nope, sun's not in your face. But they are definitely like kind of proof that if you don't let them date a whole lot and then they go out and find somebody and they seem to be happier. It's kind of the chocolate cake analogy. If you've never had chocolate cake, the first time you eat chocolate cake, it's going to be the best thing you've ever eaten. So if you go out and eat chocolate cake all the time, then when you get a really good piece of chocolate cake, you might not know that it's so good.
It, yeah.
Yeah.
Utility satisfaction.
Yep.
Well, and we also emphasize that before you date, you need to be friends. So you should have a basis. Like, it's best to marry your best friend.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen. Become best friends overnight.
Right. Let's not act like 1 or 2 dates is going to make that happen.
No.
Yeah.
Nope. But yeah, I just think deciding which sacrifices you want to make is extremely important. And then also, I think people in general, even if they like comfort, which I think everyone does, should practice, increasing the amount of discomfort they can tolerate. I mean, part of our living off grid and building the house off grid and all that was because we wanted to increase the level of discomfort we could tolerate. Wouldn't want to do it forever, but I'm glad that we did that. I don't regret it. I think it'll make people more successful. Like, oh, I can do this thing I didn't think I could do. It's actually really hard and I hate it.
Yeah, and I'm not going to recommend everybody go out and pioneer your own property in your home. But
no.
Find something this week that you've been putting off or you think's too hard and just do it.
Right. If that's going for a walk because you're out of shape, do it.
Yep.
If it's maybe you've always wanted to go winter camping and you've been afraid of it, do it.
Yep.
I just think doing the things that you're afraid of, the things that you've been avoiding, it's so empowering to just do it. So I think about Dewey's stories, our neighbor, and walking to school out here when it's 0 degrees and there's creeks that you have to cross. And doing it, you take his shoes off and walk through the creek, go to school with cold, wet socks and not dry them out. And it's just a whole other level of like discomfort from what kids today experience. I mean, even our own 12-year-old, I don't know, he could do it, obviously. Everybody can do it. He just would really hate it and complain a whole lot.
I get over it.
But he'd get over it eventually. It's just like, you know, we're trying to make him do hard things. We're not at that level of making him do hard things yet, but
Yeah.
It's like if people in the past could do it, we're kind of soft. Talking about myself too here compared to them.
Well, the thing that I've liked about the isolation is just, you know, you don't have to keep up with the Joneses because
Yeah.
there are no Joneses.
It's so nice.
Yeah, everybody thinks that, you know, these off-grid homesteads and they look like dumpster fires.
Well, they do.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Like
Nobody's gonna see it.
I could care less of what anyone thinks about me at this point in my life.
It's so freeing.
Yeah, it's very freeing.
Take it or leave it.
Yep.
I'm not gonna change. I'm not gonna amend myself, abbreviate myself to make somebody else comfortable. And now I'm gonna be empathetic and nice, kind, right. But I'm not gonna change myself.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because you learn to appreciate people because you don't see them very often. So when you do, it's like, oh wow, a human. You know, you're more likely to have a good conversation, or generally
you value that more.
Yeah, be concerned, you know, for what's going on.
Yeah,
which is nice.
Well, for instance, this is kind of dark, but like we have a couple that lives between us and Dewey and his wife, and they're on the exact opposite end of the ideological spectrum from both us and Dewey and his wife. And the husband actually had cancer for a long time and he passed away yesterday. And both Dewey and his wife put everything down and went over and helped that wife, you know, in her weakest moment when she was sad, and stayed with her till the coroner got there, and they put everything on hold for her. And I think that's part of being here in the holler where there are so few people, is that you really don't care about the stuff, the little stuff, like what somebody's politics are or what religion they are. Like, it kind of doesn't really matter because we're all facing the same level of adversity together, and we have to have each other. Like, you can't get by without your neighbor here. You just can't. So you really don't sweat the small stuff. Whereas, like, people who live where they don't need their neighbors as much, man, that what we consider to be small stuff is the big stuff. You know, it's upside down. It's like, oh, well, I'm not going to talk to my neighbor. They had a Trump sign or they had a Harris sign. I'm not going to talk to them. It's like, that doesn't fly out here. Yeah. It just doesn't.
Well, you're not going to see a Harris sign out here, I can tell you that.
No, there's two. There were two
in the
county.
Yeah.
But nobody's mean to them. They would have had a Harris sign, one of those people, and one of them would have had a Trump sign.
Right.
But
yeah, I'm not so sure politics even reach out here. No.
Well, it's not like the government services anything for us.
Right.
We should show everybody the road.
Yeah.
Up ahead.
If our internet went out, I'm pretty sure the world could end and we wouldn't know it for about 10 years.
Well, they say that they didn't even know about the Great Depression here.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what my grandpa said. They didn't even know it.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because some of these old timers, they don't have actual gardens. They have planted certain, you know, vegetables and fruits in different areas of their property.
Like, yep.
And then they just go out and harvest it.
Perennial, like,
yeah,
it's pretty wild or whatever. Yeah, zone gardening here. I don't know if anybody cares, but like, here, show them that. Like, show them what's behind what we're looking at. I don't know if you can see it because of the sun, but there's a big open glade with a big hill, and it's always going to be cooler down here than it is up on top of that hill. So we do zone. It's like different zones. So it's like down here it would be like a 6A, and up there it would be like 7B.
Right.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it is nuts because people that live in the hollers versus the hilltops.
We're a hilltop people.
Yeah.
So in the winter,
different things grow.
yeah, in the winter it's a lot warmer for us, about 10 degrees warmer up top than it is down in the holler. In the summer too. And people used to have like the hilltop house for winter and the holler house at the bottom for summer, because the weather here is so crazy. That way they could be cool in the summer and warm in the winter without any electricity.
Yeah.
Oh, who's this? I saw this car the other day. If they don't say hi there, not from here. Did you get a new car?
No, it's our rental.
What happened to your car?
We'll be back. All right. Had to talk to a neighbor. Got a new car.
Yeah, she's in a rental.
Yeah.
The weather did her truck in. I'm not kidding when I say it's crazy out here.
Yep.
She had it was a Dodge 4x4 and it went off the road. That's pretty wild.
Well, I mean, I've always had that though. Growing up in a small town, everybody knew what car you drove.
Oh,
You
yeah.
couldn't get away with anything.
No, everybody knew exactly where you were at based on where your car was at.
Right.
You'd have the neighbor ladies, wherever you were at, calling your mom. Did you know she's over here? Sure didn't want to go to the bar if you were a teacher. Not, at least not in the town where you were teaching.
Yeah.
Get a call from the superintendent.
Yep.
But anyway, again, that they're willing to make that sacrifice of living way out here, having all these car repairs, and just so that they can have some privacy. And they're raising a lot of birds and, believe it or not, alligators.
Yeah. I'm not sure what that one's about.
Well, I think they like alligator meat.
I guess.
I'd prefer a lamb. They're also fuzzy and cute to look at. But
I've had alligator nuggets. They're not bad.
yeah, I'm not in the market for that. I'm good.
A reptilian connoisseur.
Yeah, that's not. As long as they don't make it into this creek, I'm okay. There's already plenty of snakes.
Yeah.
You don't need alligators. But
Well, I guess we're going to finish our walk. Really appreciate you guys tuning in.
why don't you show them that?
Yeah.
End on that note.
I'm going to end on that note.
Yeah, it's so pretty.
There. There you go. All right, be smart, stay safe. Don't let the thorn thistle keep you down.